Hey everyone, welcome. This is our first show together in 2021. Welcome. What a year. My goodness, I was just talking about how so many unexpected things have come up this past year. And I think we're all looking for an opening, a bright light into what's to come. So I'm so grateful that you're spending this hour with me. I really hope that it's a time that we can just be together, talk about things that are meaningful, inspiring, and that really help you start to potentially take like a different viewpoint or perspective about what's going on in the world and in our lives. And I truly hope that this time inspires you in some way, that you learn something, and that you feel and know that just simply being who you are on this earth, being in the space of humanity, that you matter and that you are worthy. That is my goal with our time together. And just thinking about that, I have recently, my family just came out of our actual third round of quarantine. My husband and I ended up getting COVID over the holiday. And, it was one of those things that just, it kind of came up out of nowhere. And the way that I really decided to look at that time, that was unexpected, that came out of nowhere, that kind of, literally put us, at home together for 2 weeks again. I just started to ask myself, like, what are some different ways in which I can look at what's happening right now? Is this a time that we're forced to be here in this home, or are we getting a gift of time together as a family? Like the after holiday buzz, we were able just to sort of love on each other and rest and just enjoy the company of one another with all of the external stress going on around us. And so I invite you, as I invite myself, to continue to just allow those little nudges to come in around, what is it that's going on right now? How can we be a part of the greater whole, but then also be, totally responsible for how we're showing up, how we are acting versus reacting to all of the noise that's going on, and see the little golden nuggets that are being provided for us. So just a little bit about what's been going on with me. I'm excited to be back with you guys to talk about some really exciting things that have been coming up and going on in my life and around the world, and just to be together, right? And just to have the connection that we have here on the show. And I don't take that lightly. And especially after being in those moments when you feel so disconnected physically, I'm just so grateful to be able to have a platform to be able to connect with you. So thank you for being here. And, thinking about that, like thinking about the last year, thinking about all that's been going on, what I want to talk about today is a way, sort of I don't know, almost like a secret tool that I utilize and have utilized in my life, but that has actually been brought much more closer to my attention and my current realm of life, and something that has been a amazingly useful tool in my pocket. And that is the idea of how we communicate collectively with the universe and the spirits, guides, God, universe, whatever it is that you choose, the way that you choose to look at the entity or the greater, the divine. Our ways in which we can communicate with and receive messages from, right? And the way that I do that in my life is through signs. And over the break, I have had this book in my Audible wish list forever. And again, this is, getting to the heart of the matter of signs, those things that just pop up into your psyche sort of out of the blue, but are not by coincidence whatsoever. I knew that I was going to be traveling back home to see family over the holiday, and I wanted to get a new book to listen to. And I pull up the wish list, and I've got probably 20 books in this portal, and my vision immediately goes to the book Signs. And I said, this is something that I've got to listen to while I'm driving. And so the book that I'm specifically talking about, go out and grab it or listen to it if you haven't. I would imagine there's plenty of you guys that have, but it is by Laura Lynne Jackson, and the book title is Signs, and the subtitle is Signs, the Secret Language of the Universe. And I love that. I love the idea of it almost invites in this, like, think about when you were a kid, right? That the pen pals or like the note exchanges you guys would have in class. It's sort of the same thing. And for me, it brings up that idea of it being a little, I don't know, like rebellious or sort of secretive, that it's this communication tool, this portal, this connection that we have with something that is so much greater than us, available at any moment, that can sometimes feel like it's just ours, right? Like our private connection, our personal connection with the universe. And as I look back on the trajectory of my life, and we could go way back, right? But like, I think about the past 10 years really that stand out to me. I really feel that my faith and trust and my ability to ask for specific signs or ways in which I knew that I was on my right path saved me so much heartache, so much wasted time, so much worry that could have been there, that the ability to be able to connect in such a personal way with what I consider, the divine compass of what it is that, is available for my life. It just gave me such a sense of peace, especially when things felt really heavy or were emotionally, the depth of the emotion felt so much that I didn't think that I knew that I wasn't necessarily thinking clearly. To be able to have that connection, to be able to have that communication, really, like, it meant the world to me to be able to walk in this, like, knowing faith. And what I want to bring to the table today is that, yes, I want to share my personal experience with this and in some ways that it has changed my life, but to also really acknowledge that this is absolutely not limited to me. This is not limited to the author of this book. This is available to any of us at any given moment. That as humans, we have the ability and the potential to be able to connect and to use that as such a gift, right? To see it as a gift, to allow that in. And, as humans, we have free will. So we get to choose no matter what. But to have this higher divine guidance that is sort of cutting off some of those really rough edges that might feel really, really heavy and hard to the lessons that might be harder than we think, really allowing that in, allowing the receiving of that, right? Surrendering to the reception of what it is that is coming for us, right? That's coming our way, that's available. It's already there. It's literally getting into the space of being able to surrender to the truth that it's there and that we desire to see it, that we desire to allow it in. And so I really want to bring that, to open up, hopefully, that little portal in the side of your mind of the potential and the availability and our responsibility in that, taking responsibility for what is it that we're allowing ourselves to sit and worry about, or fume over, or get completely consumed by in life. And how can we allow the help that's wanting to come in, right? And one of the quotes that Laura Lynne Jackson says in the book that I love it, and she says the understanding the secret language of the universe is a gift available to all of us. And she said, as we learn to ask for and recognize signs from the other side, we will start to find meaning where before there was only confusion, and see light in the darkness. We may decide to change paths, push toward love, pursue joy, and engage with life in an entirely different way. And I love that because it provides this opportunity, but then also puts the responsibility back into our hands, right? It's taking full, authentic, radical responsibility for the way in which we choose to live our lives moving forward, and allowing that, right? Just to be able to ask and recognize, to see meaning where there might not have been meaning before, to really open up our horizon and our vision to what is beyond what we can physically see in our lives. And I can't wait to talk to you more about this. I want to just prompt you guys, think about, in your life, is this a tool that you utilize? Is this something that is meaningful and powerful in your life today? Is it something that you're curious about? Like, just staying open to what's coming up around this topic. And I can't wait to share about some really monumental and pivotal moments in which signs really steered me in a direction that I didn't even realize was possible for myself. And so just stay in that space of curiosity and wonder. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dig in a little bit more. We're going to talk about some stories and some other quotes from this really beautiful book. So I can't wait to see you back in just a moment. This is Grounding Into Your Radiance. I'm Stacie Barber, and I will see you here in a bit. Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to Grounding Into Your Radiance. I'm Stacie Barber. I'm so excited to have you here. And we're talking about something today that is really personal to me, a tool that I have utilized in my life so many times to guide me on my way when I feel like a lost sheep out in the pasture, to be able to bring me back in alignment with the divine love that I know is available to me, not only me, to everyone. And we're talking about signs. And I've been reading and listening to the book that Laura Lynne Jackson wrote called Signs. And I love the way she describes it. It's the secret language of the universe, right? It's that those whispers, the ways that not only the divine beyond us can communicate, but then those that have gone before us. And in her book, she gives so many beautiful examples. I mean, it's like case study and example after example after example. When you start to hear, it's hard not to believe these things. And so many beautiful examples of people that have crossed over, that have communicated back with their loved ones to bring the loved ones that are still here on earth peace and understanding, and signs and ways of which to, like, little nuggets of what the path to follow, right? She talks about folks that have lost a child, and how that child will come back in an animal such as a deer or a rainbow, or a sign that lets their loved ones know that they're okay, that they are so much better, than they've ever been, that they are in a space of complete and total love. And they also want to stay in connection with us, with the people that are still here. And I put myself in those shoes, and I just think about how comforting that must be, right? To know that whoever it is, whatever it is that moves beyond this realm that we call life, that we still can have that connection together. And so I highly recommend her book. It's been great. I just listened to the whole thing, the whole way through. So check her out. But some of you might be thinking, okay, so we're talking about signs, we're talking about things that show up, but like, what is a sign? What is something that I can ask for from the universe? Like, what's available to me? And I love this definition that I found just to help explain it, that signs appear in moments when we're facing either a difficult decision or need help integrating a realization about ourselves that we've recently had. So it's kind of like consulting an oracle or something that is beyond our awareness, right? And you know that you need the guidance, you ask for it, and then the answer will present itself only when you're open and able to receive it, when you're receptive to it. And that's really key, because what I've noticed in my life is that sometimes I ask for a sign. I'm very specific. I've learned that the universe likes direct, specific ideas and requests, right? I've heard it explained like this before. It's kind of like if you pull up to the drive-through, let's say at McDonald's, and you just say, I want a hamburger, right? And then they say, well, do you want all the things on it? It's much different than saying, I want a hamburger with lettuce and tomato and mayo, no cheese, hold the onion, right? Like, so if we say, I need a sign, the universe could be throwing those out to us all day, every day. And they are, it is. But in order for our human brains to be able to acknowledge and receive, to be able to allow the sign and the message to come through, we've got to get really specific, right? We've got to ask for exactly what it is that feels aligned, or even ask, what is the sign that I need to see? Can you show it to me? Can you help me know? Can you let me be aware? To be able to see that, because there's so many times, like I said, in my life that I've asked for something and I feel like I haven't seen it, to later learn that it was right in front of my face the whole time. So an interesting example in this conversation. Many of you know I own, my husband and I own a brick and mortar Pilates gyrotonic wellness studio here in Charleston, South Carolina. And then I also have my coaching business. And so being a mom, 2 young kids, having both businesses, being a wife, a daughter, all the things, all the plates that we carry, I felt like my energy was starting to get spread a little thin, especially before the holidays. Like, we're ramping up and the year again has been so nuts. And so in meditation one morning, I asked the universe to help me understand very clearly where it is that my attention and energy should be going at the moment, because I felt like I was putting 80% of myself into the studio, 80% of myself into my family, 80% of myself into coaching, and it just wasn't working out. And so I got really specific and I said, okay, if I am meant to be spending my energy and my time really focusing on the studio, can you please show me an egret, which is this beautiful white marsh bird that we have here in Charleston. And it just so happens we have a picture of one on our wall in our home. So for me, in my mind, the egret was brick and mortar on the wall, on the ground, bird feet on the ground, right? If it's meant for me to spend my time coaching and building this platform and getting my message out, please show me a dragonfly. That was the animal that came to my mind immediately. I thought free, flying, open, kind of mystical. Please show me that. And then I said, and if I'm supposed to just be resting right now, if I'm supposed to just be in the space of receptivity and rest and allowing and surrender, please show me a slug. And I've learned that the universe and I communicate very much through animals, not only animals, but that is a very clear way that we communicate. So I put this out, and then I have to just allow my mind not to focus on it. And I go about my days and I don't see anything for a few days. And then I pulled a card out of one of my decks. And it is a card that it looks like if you've watched the news when a hurricane is over an area, the swirl of the hurricane, right? So there's this circular swirly energy going on. And the card literally said rest. And so I pull the card out and I see it and I'm like, all right, well, that's not really a slug. It kind of resembles a slug, but the message is extremely clear: rest. So that's what I did, thinking that that was the answer, thinking that we had communicated, that that part of the conversation was over. So I followed the sign. 2 days later, my youngest daughter comes in from playing in the yard and she holds her hand out and she goes, Mommy, look what I found in the garden. And in her hand was a little slug that was rolled up in the palm. And I look down and I allow myself to be in awe because of again, just that, like, the message of it's time to rest, it's time to slow down, it's time to surrender, it's time to receive. So again, I follow the lead. So about 5 days later, I am in my bathroom, I'm taking a shower, and I get out of my shower and I'm standing there drying my hair off, and I look, something catches my eye above the mirror in my bathroom, and I allow my gaze to just lift. And so I have a mirror in my bathroom. At the top of the mirror, I had placed an oracle card that I had probably pulled 2 years ago. And I look up at the card, and on the card, it's a deck from Gabby Bernstein. It's the Universe Has Your Back book, which is also a really beautiful book about signs. And I look up, and the card from the deck clearly has a beautiful dragonfly drawn on it. And the message was, I trust that the universe is always communicating with me and always leading me on my path. And I sat there and stood in this, it took my breath, because my human brain had assumed that we were done. Like, I got the message to rest. Okay, got it, check. I got another message to rest. Okay, great, got it, check. I listened, I heeded the call. And then this card that had been there for years caught my attention and helped place the next stone for me on my path to be able to then say, okay, the studio is doing great. We've got our instructors back, like things are moving and grooving in that area. I can allow myself to shift versus spreading myself completely thin. I can shift my energy over to this other aspect of my business that I'm growing and nurturing and, really wanting to spend some time to, like, love up on it. And it gave me the permission to do that. Probably the permission that I wouldn't have given myself because of the messages that we've had our whole lives, right? Like, if you're not busy, if you're not doing the things, if you're not moving, then you're not productive, you're not worthy, and that's just not true. And because of that, I was able to show up so much more presently, authentically, and really step into doing the work that I was being drawn and called to in that moment. And that's one beautiful story of how this has been so monumental in my life. I can't wait to share some more with you. I've got a really powerful story about my grandfather passing and the way that he communicates with me, and also my father just 4 years ago and the sign that we use together to communicate. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. This is Grounding Into Your Radiance. I will see you here in just a bit. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to Grounding Into Your Radiance. I'm Stacie Barber. I'm honored to be here with you in this hour that we get to spend together, to be able to connect and really just discuss and talk about some amazing things that are going on in people's lives right now. And I would love to hear from you, to connect with you in a deeper way. I am available Gmail. My Gmail is stacie.barber@gmail.com. And then check me out on my website at Stacie Barber Coaching. And it's just staciebarber.com is my website. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you guys would like to hear more about. I'm hoping to bring some guests on in the next few months. So anything that feels really relevant to you and in your life that would feel meaningful, and just be able to discuss really powerful topics that feel essential right now. So we're talking about the secret language of the universe, signs, ways in which we can connect with the divine. And what I know to be true in my life, and what I've noticed and observed in others, is, sort of the speed that we're all running at right now in life. And granted, COVID and quarantine have, with the pandemic, we have definitely had an opportunity to slow down. But there's definitely that little pool that's starting to come forward, right? Like vaccinations are coming on board. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, much more recently, like, I feel like we're starting to get closer and closer to a sense of normalcy, and letting all of that feel really positive and uplifting. And then also staying really open to what is it that we've learned, what are the gifts that have been made available to us in these times when we've been able to sort of sit back and be with ourselves, right? I've called it the forced pause, that I think so many of us, myself included, really needed, because we can get so caught up on the darn hamster wheel of life, of all the obligations and things, right? That there's this sense of obligation, overwhelm, stress starts to creep in. Everything in our life is affected. And when we are out of that vibrational, energy of love, I kind of think about it like the main river that's available between us and divine, right? That's always there. But when these things start to kind of knock us off of our path, like push us out of the water, in a sense, we start to lose the ability to see the things that are coming through, right? To receive the deep interconnection between us and the world around us, right? The different ways that nature and life and the universe are alive and communicating with us. We get busy, we get on our phones, right? We get on the devices, we're absent. We lose the sense of presence when the world starts to pull us back in. And so thinking about what opportunities do we have for ourselves moving forward? What I love to think about it like this really helps hold myself accountable. Like, what responsibility do I have to be able to stay in that conduit of love and connection, so that I can stay aligned, so that I can be the light, so that I can salvage my energy, so that I can be the mom and the wife and the business owner that I need to be? What can I do to keep myself in that frequency? And so many times it comes back to being really accountable of my energy and the way that I spend my time, and staying open, asking for the connection, making the connection that I'm speaking of a priority, right? Making it the thing in our day that either starts our day or that we communicate with throughout the day, whatever it is that works for you. But really bringing that in as something that's a necessity in our lives to stay on the path. Because there's so many times that nature carries extremely valuable information and significance into our realm, into our life, and we just don't pay attention anymore because we're getting to get pulled in so many other different directions. And to know that nature is always communicating with us, the divine is always communicating with us, and they usually do this through signs, right? I love this quote from Albert Einstein. It says, "Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous." How many times in life has something just happened? This happened to me today at the studio. I was working with a client, and two separate people, this question just popped into my head, and I said it out loud, and they both were like, "I was just thinking about that. How did you even get into my mind?" And it was a conversation that we needed to have. It was something about self-care, or ways in which they were really truly, taking their own health into their hands, and they were thinking about it. And I believe that when we stay in that energy, those things are made available to us, and we can take the messages, and we can meet people in a deeper way, and really be able to communicate and connect in a way that I feel that we're truly meant to do here on earth. And when we can see through crystal clear eyes that are rooted in the present moment, life starts to send us so many signs and messages and omens every moment of every day. It's just keeping our eyes open to that. The practice of mindfulness, right? The ability to see, the practice of wanting to see, right? And knowing that we are always connected and that we're never alone in that, because the signs are everywhere. So before break, I mentioned a couple of really powerful stories in my life that have been monumental for my path, that have kept me aligned in ways that I never would have imagined possible for myself. One in particular is my grandfather, who, if you've listened to my first podcast about my story, you can see and hear how amazingly powerful this gentleman's presence was in my life. And I felt so connected to him. Essentially, he was my acting father. He was the example of love in a masculine framework that I knew in my life, because my dad just did not have the capacity to show that. And I found out I was pregnant, and for my first daughter. And that same year, my grandfather was diagnosed with bladder and bone cancer. And he had been a healthy, vibrant man his entire life. The diagnosis came in, and he started to decline very quickly. And I just kept praying and saying, I really want you to meet my first child. This means so much to me. You have been such an important part of my life. Like I want he or she, we didn't find out. I want them to know you. I really want them to know you. So it just so happens that he passed in September. I was about 6 months pregnant at that point. And so he ended up crossing over before I had my daughter. And it completely broke my heart. I was so distraught in the fact that he was not going to be here. He wasn't going to be able to meet my child, to be able to have a relationship. And I remember just being so deeply saddened by the fact that that had happened. And I was on my knees and I was praying one night, and I said, please, please, God, show me that he's still here. Please show me that I still have a way to connect with him, that I can share, his presence with my daughter. Please just show me. And about a minute later, I'm sitting there, just sitting outside. The most delicate little yellow butterfly, which we tend to have a ton of them here in Charleston, certain times of the year, it just started kind of fluttering around. Like it was just fluttering around the top of my head. It would circle around a few times. It would go away, but then it would come back. And it was very evident that it was hanging out. Like it was just around. And I noticed it at first and, just thought to myself, that's really pretty butterfly, and kind of moved on. And then it just stayed. And it was in the yard around me for a good hour. And all of a sudden it was just this awakening of my mind that this is him. Like this was my grandfather. This was him coming back to let me know that he hadn't left me, that he was still part of my life, that yes, indeed, he was going to watch my daughter grow up, and that he was never going to fully be away from me, that he was never going to be gone. His spirit still very much lived. And I just sobbed in the feeling of that deep knowing that he was available, that he was still there, he was still present. And I cannot tell you how many times I have asked for his guidance, for his little nudges to show up and show me if I'm on the path or if I'm off the path. When we had the decision upon us to buy the studio 4 years ago, I remember sitting on my porch steps. I never really thought about being a brick and mortar business owner. I had dreamed about it a bit, but to say that I felt like I was worthy of that, or that it was in my capacity, I had not really entertained that fully. And I'm sitting on the steps talking to the previous owner, who's a dear friend of mine, um, about the numbers and this and that. And just subconsciously, I'm saying to myself, just please show me the butterfly. Just please come and show me if you're here with me. Let me know if this is the right move. Let me know if this is the next step for me. Please make it clear. Please make it clear. Please make it clear. And I look up and there he comes again, right? This little yellow butterfly sweeps down, almost lands on my nose, up, comes back. I mean, it was just, I immediately again burst into tears. And the most special part of this whole thing is that he has become such a prominent part of our lives that my daughters call him by name when they see him, and they say, "Hi, Paul, good to see you." He's part of their lives. And that means so much to me. I cannot verbally express the ability of this amazing human in spirit form looking over my family, myself, my daughters. It is one of the most powerful gifts that I could have been given. And so I just want to invite you to think about, where could that have possibly been like showing up for you? And are there people on the other side? Are there spirits that have crossed? Are there people that you really want to connect with? Have you allowed yourself to really get specific and ask for that connection? And then again, trust and surrender that it's going to show, because sometimes it shows up in the most interesting places. So, leaving you with that, we're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss another really great story about my dad and how I stay in communication with him. I will see you in just a moment. This is Grounding Into Your Radiance. I'm Stacie Barber, and we'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Stacie Barber. Happy to have you here on Grounding Into Your Radiance. Just talking about something that's really personal, powerful, something that I think could truly change so many people's lives if we allow it to come in. We're talking about signs. Laura Lynne Jackson calls it the secret secret language of the universe, the way that we can communicate with the divine, with those that have gone beyond and before us, that have crossed over, ways in which we can have those connections to be able to see where a path is going, to guide and direct us. And just sharing about how my grandfather has been such a pivotal component of that, has come back for me in a specific sign of this beautiful yellow, delicate little butterfly. And if you guys have listened to the first episode around my story, around my relationship with my father, who was also a male influence in my life, difficult relationship, but really what I consider a troubled life. He battled alcoholism his entire adult life and actually lost his life to the disease. And his death at such a young age really impacted me much more than I ever imagined. His crossing for me opened my eyes to the way in which I was choosing to live my life day in, day out, the work that I was doing in my life, what I felt was a higher calling that was coming in for me. And as I look back 4 years ago, this March, it was one of the most pivotal and powerful moments of my adult life, of my life in general. And knowing that my father had really, in his death, given me such a beautiful gift to live my life differently, to pursue joy and happiness and health, and follow my heart, follow my calling. I was really, the fact that that was something that was provided to me was so powerful. But there was also that little tinge of the remembrance of his life, of the struggles that he experienced, of the demons really that he lived with. And after having the experience with my grandfather, after having that beautiful connection of knowing that he was okay and well and wanted to stay connected with me, I just trusted in my heart that I would also know that my father was in a better place, that he was back to his essential spirit, his essential self after crossing. And he passed one night, March 6th. And we went through the movements of calling everyone in and this and that. I ended up laying down that night and sleeping extremely hard because we had been caring for him in our home for quite a few weeks. And I remember kind of rustling around early the next morning, and I lifted my head up and I looked out onto the front porch where I had grown up. This was my childhood home. And as I lift my head and I look out on the porch, there are about 12 male red cardinals on the front porch. Some are eating, some are hanging out, some are just there. I had never seen that many cardinals on that porch before in my entire life. And I knew in that moment that that was my dad showing me that not only he was a little bit okay, but like he was really okay. that I'm here, I'm showing up in a big way to let you know that all is good. I am great. And we are going to stay connected in a way that we really couldn't have while you were here, while he was here on earth. And he shows up a lot. And he shows up in moments that I am in question of certain things or I am asking for guidance. I see him. I will simply say, Dad, can you show up and let me know that you're there? Can you help me with this decision? Can you just be here with me? And lo and behold, he always shows up. And I share these personal examples because I love hearing people's stories. It makes it feel so so real to me to hear the experience and stories from others. I hope that me sharing my experience with that makes this more concrete and something that feels accessible to you, because it is. It's accessible to each and every one of us. And by sharing that truth, I hope that you're able to allow that truth in for yourself. If it's something that you haven't practiced, begin to get curious about it and practice for yourself. If it's something that you're very actively practicing in your life, just holding in your heart the power of that and the sheer magic of it all, that this is even available to us. And so that is something that I really hope to leave with you today with this conversation, is to be able to stay open, right? To keep the line of our awareness open to what's coming in for us. Ask for the signs, ask for ways in which for yourself that will really start to lead you in the direction that you're going. It will start to clear the clutter out of the path. Will start to help you become more present in the moment to see what's available for us. That's my invitation for you, to start to live that so that you can experience it in your life and then create the ripple effect, that allowing that to come in, to be open and honest about that, to share it with others, how that allows other people to see the potential and the availability of that for themselves and their lives. So I leave you with that. I love talking about these things, bringing them out into the open, bringing the transparency from my experience here to you. I hope this means something to you. I also want to share with you all, I have got some really beautiful opportunities to work together as a coach. If you are feeling called or drawn to what it is that we're talking about here, the way that I present my work into the world, I would be honored to be able to walk that path with you. I am opening up some private coaching opportunities in February 1st, to be able to have some opportunities to work hand in hand, to be able to bring these magical tools into your life, to be able to help walk beside you and create what's possible, to reconnect with your innate truth, inner compass, and essential self. Go onto my website, staciebarber.com. You're going to see all the info there. Reach out to me at stacie.barber@gmail.com for more information. I would love to hear from you. I would love to have the opportunity to get to know you better, to be able to walk this path together, and to be able to really be in relationship, because I think more than ever, our souls are yearning for communion, relationship, and connection. And that's what I love about my work the most, is being able to be with someone and all the aspects of who they are as humans, and be able to shine the light on all the beauty and goodness that lives within them. I love that work. I feel that's the work of my life, and I would be honored to do that with you. So reach out, let me know, share this with anyone that you feel would be a really beautiful fit. And I can't wait to see you guys in a couple of weeks on Grounding Into Your Radiance. Again, I'm Stacie Barber. It's such an honor to be here with you today. Be well, take care of each other, and I'll see you soon.